Morning, everyone, both in here and online. I'm going to talk about data-centric security. The question mark is, I will get to later. It's kind of a recent addition for the slides because of how this conference is set up. Is it this button? There we go. All right. So I like agendas and meetings, so that way everybody kind of knows what's going on and how quickly it will end. So this is kind of what the agenda is. So let's start with it. This is roughly who I am on paper as a professional. It's been mostly, I put in the last 3 jobs, which are the 2 on the left and the 1 on the top right. And it's from those 3 jobs in particular that I have the observation that I've made that I would ask the question to all of you. And so we'll lead towards that. But also before that, I used to do operations work, now known as like SRE. And that's how I was able to transition into doing information security. So it's why it matters, because I had a slightly different path into this career than other people might have. So I know it's kind of early in the morning, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you all to think. Just a little bit, though. So who remembers or knows who made the first commercial firewall? Anyone? No? That's okay. Checkpoint, a name that should be somewhat familiar. Now, too much. I kind of gave it away, so we'll just go along. But they did it in 1993, roughly 30 years ago, or pretty much close to 30 years ago, depending on when they released it. Details. Let's move on to the next one. There was a paper called Smashing the Stack for Fun and Profit. Who remembers when this paper came out?
Yeah, it's one of the oldest, I guess, and really well known by.
Yeah. So besides Ollie, who else has read this paper? Anybody else in the audience? I'll raise my hand because I have. The reason why this paper is important and why I bring it up is because this was the first time that somebody wrote information to share with the average person, like somebody technically capable, but maybe doesn't know how to do a buffer overrun attack. So there was code, there was descriptions about how this works, why it works. It was written for somebody who doesn't know, and suddenly they can start doing it. Really important for us, because our origin story as superheroes are these events. They're highly technical. However, things move on, things change. The trivia is going to continue for a little while longer. Bear with me, please. Does anybody remember when PCI came out? 2001. Last one. All right, SOC 2. When did this one come out? Close, very close. 2010. So there's this difference going on that we can see. At one point, we had a highly technical role, jobs or duties, and suddenly we had to start dealing with compliance and regulation. And some things changed during those years. We did start seeing more viruses and worms. We started to have to deal with the leaking of information, sometimes through internal threats or external threats. Governments started getting a little bit more involved in this. People who were leaking information were starting to be prosecuted and punished. An organized crime also starts to enter in the scene, starts participating in this for their own ends and means. And somewhere along the way, organizations and businesses decided that they needed someone responsible for this. So, in a really small period of time, we went from the basement to doing buffer overflow attacks, configuring firewalls, to now having to do social engineering on our executives. Because how else do you get something done? in about 30 years. This is a huge amount of change and responsibilities that now sit on us as information security leaders to go from one extreme to the other. This is a poor image, and I am sorry, but it's about 1/4 of Rafiq's CISO mind map. It shows the responsibilities of every CISO, and it's huge. As I said, this is like 1/4 to 1/3, and it's horrible because you can't see the text. But I highly, highly recommend, like maybe during the roundtable or for yourselves later on, to actually look at it and go through it and see all the little things that we as InfoSec leaders have to be aware of and think about on a day-to-day basis, and be able to articulate to the board, to the person in HR, to the person in finance, of why a certain activity should or should not be done. But as Ali said yesterday, and I completely agree with this question, did we overcomplicate it for ourselves? While going through this transition so quickly, we brought stuff along as we had to increase our responsibilities. And I'm starting to ask the question to myself and now to all of you. So I'm now making you accomplices in this. Did we overcomplicate it? Do we maybe need to stop, take a breath, and go like, hey, do we need to be responsible for all of these things? Should we be responsible for all of these things? Is there a way that we can maybe add some sanity back into what it is that we're responsible for? I thought about this for a while, and I do think we can, but I'm not sure how. I've already done this, like why this matters. There's so much going on that we're responsible for and we have to deal with, that maybe if we can find, like for physics, the unifying theory, like is there one thing that we can tie to, that we can kind of use as a guideline to think about what it is that we have to do? And I think it's this. I think it's data. At the end of the day, everything that we're doing is all centered about protecting this one abstract word. And so that's kind of the idea that I'm trying to propose to you all now, is how can we maybe think about protecting data, or making that the focus for how we protect our organizations. So case in point, AI is a big thing right now. It's something that we're all worried about on some level. For the conversation yesterday, there was, thinking about AI as writing better spear phishing emails, needing to use automation to help us have better awareness in our environments. But I'm also thinking about this a little bit sooner. There was that article maybe a couple months ago where somebody at Samsung asked ChatGPT to modify its code for it. That's a data leak. This is something that we have to deal with immediately in some way. Like, I don't know the answer to this as well, but it shows the importance of data and how if we think about AI from this perspective, it's something we do need to handle now. So, in summary, because I don't have the answer, that's why I'm asking for all of your help. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how we can refocus on protecting data and be able to take that step back and add sanity back into everything. Our responsibilities have changed so quickly, and all of this stuff just kind of came along for the ride. And I would like, and asking the question, can we refocus on data? Is this a possibility even? And that's what I really hope for in this roundtable discussion that happens later. And some guiding questions for it, because again, I don't have the answers. I do wonder, did I miss something in this? I'm only one person. Other people have diverse perspectives and opinions that I just might not be aware of. And it's also possible I am wrong. It is possible that maybe data isn't what we should focus on as leaders. Maybe it's something else. And that's part of what I'm hoping to find out from everybody here too. And then, of course, I'm just a human being. I'm fallible. I can't see everything. Maybe I haven't thought about something that somebody else can provide and help guide the conversation and help guide us as leaders to have better conversations amongst ourselves, amongst the board, amongst any other stakeholders that we have to interact with. Thank you.